So if the rumours are to be believed, Mike Ashley spell as Newcastle owner is set to come to an end. The Sports Direct man has been put under huge pressure to sell the club in recent years, and the Toon supporters finally look set to get their wish. Ashley bought the club back in 2007 for around £134 million, and during his 11 years of ownership, there's been 0 major trophies, 2 relegations, 2 promotions, multiple Joe Kinnear appearances, a head-butting manager, and protest after protest. But back to 2007, and Newcastle's first competitive game since Ashley bought the club was a 3-1 victory over Bolton Wanderers on August 11th, 2007. Let's look at who started for Newcastle and where they are now. In goal was Steve Harper. Injury to Shea Given meant that the usual bench warmer Steve Harper started the Ashley era as number 1, but he was unable to keep a clean sheet, with Nicholson Elka scoring a consolation goal for Bolton in the 50th minute. Harper would make another 20 appearances that season, eventually becoming first choice stopper the season after when Shea Given left for Man City. The goalkeeper would be part of the team that won promotion back to the Premier League in 2010, but from there his appearances would become limited. He had a loan spell at Brighton, then joined Hull in 2013. Then incredibly, Harper became a Sunderland player in 2016, providing cover for the Black Cats. He played 0 minutes and has since retired, now working as a goalkeeping coach for the Newcastle Academy. Right back was Stephen CARR. Signed in 2004, this would be CARR's final season as a Newcastle player, with Kevin Keegan deciding against renewing the defender's contract. With no new club on the horizon, CARR retired in December 2008, but a few months later he got an offer from Birmingham City and restarted his career. CARR would make more than 100 appearances for the Blues, captaining them at the 2011 League Cup. The Irish defender would retire again in 2013 and was offered a coaching role by Lee Clark. But instead he and his family moved to Spain to pursue business interests, and he's now a majority shareholder in the Sala Group, or it might be Sala to be fair, who own multiple bars and clubs in Marbella. Centre back was Stephen Taylor. The most recent player in this team to play for Newcastle, Stephen Taylor was still just in the infancy of his career when Ashley took over at the Magpies. In fact, this is the season where Taylor would play the most Premier League games, making 31 appearances. Taylor's Newcastle career was a roller coaster. There was that comical red card against Aston Villa, there's been times he's been on the brink of the England squad, and there was that time he faceplanted the post against Sunderland. His time with Newcastle ended in 2016 with relegation, and he's since played for Portland Timbers, Ipswich and Peterborough. Now aged 32, Taylor is playing in Australia for Wellington Phoenix. He was alongside David Rosenal. This lad was a disaster in a black and white shirt. The Czech defender arrived that summer, sealing a move just days before Mike Ashley took total control of the club. The game against Bolton was Rosenal's debut, and by the time January came around he was on the move again, joining Lazio on loan. That deal was made permanent in the summer of 2008, with the Italians paying the £2.9 million he'd cost Newcastle just a year earlier. Rosenal officially retired from football earlier this year, and is now playing in the 7th tier of Czech football for a side called Sokol Kozosani alongside his brother. I don't know how good they are, but I reckon my mates from a Saturday morning could do a job on them. Left back was Charles Nzogbia. After a summer that saw Nzogbia linked with the move away, the Frenchman remained on Tyneside and started the season in an unfamiliar role of left back, scoring the opening goal of the game against Bolton with a wicked free kick. He would sign a 5-year deal shortly after, but 1 year later he decided he wanted to leave, and that process was sped up once Joe Kinnear called him Charlie Insomnia. He would impress at Wigan and then moved to Villa for £9.5 million in July 2011, but in 2016 he was released, and it was reported they had a heart problem. Although not retired, Nzogbia is still without a club, despite going on trial at Sunderland the other year. In midfield was Jeremy. A set-piece expert, Jeremy was another player who joined Newcastle in the summer of 2007 and was immediately made captain by Sam Allardyce. He lost the armband once Kevin Keegan took over, and from there his minutes diminished. After a few games in the Championship, Jeremy left in 2010 for Turkey, with his final stop as a player being Greek side Larissa. Jeremy retired in 2011 and has since moved into the boardroom, working with his native Cameroon. Last year he was named second vice president of the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations organising committee, which was set to be held in Cameroon, but they've since been stripped due to the unrest in the country, so God knows what the lad's up to now. Next up is Nicky Butt. A member of the class of 92, Nicky Butt was a reliable figure in black and white, albeit not spectacular. He would spend 6 years at Newcastle, one of which was away on loan, leaving in 2010 after lifting the Championship trophy. His next move would be to South China, scoring and missing a penalty on his debut. Nowadays, Butt is one of the co-owners of non-league side Salford City alongside other members of Manchester United's class of 92, and he's also head of the Red Devils Academy. So if you're concerned by the state of Man United's academy, blame him. Also in midfield was Alan Smith. A famous Mike Ashley signing and someone who can crop up anywhere, Smith was the name sprawled across the back of the owner's Newcastle shirt when he was in the away fans, with 17 apparently his lucky number. But for Smith, his time at Newcastle was up and down. He'd scored one goal and that came in a friendly, but his best season was when the Magpies were in the Championship, becoming a steely figure in front of the defence. In 2012 he would leave, joining MK Dons, then 2 years later he was on the move again to Notts County. There he got the chance to get the band back together, playing alongside Shola Amiobi under the management of Kevin Nolan. He was released by the League 2 side this summer and is now retired. Smith is now over in America coaching kids. Next we've got James Milner. The most high profile player in this team, when you think about James Milner nowadays, you forget all about his Newcastle exploits. 1 year after Ashley took over, Milner was on the move to Aston Villa, sold without manager Kevin Keegan's blessing, a move that would play a big part in his exit from St James's Park. A move to Man City would really kick Milner's career off, where he first got his hands on some silverware, winning 2 Premier Leagues, an FA Cup and a League Cup. In 2015 he would get another big move, joining Liverpool on a free where he's reinvented himself under Jurgen Klopp, proving to be a key player as the Reds go in pursuit of the Premier League title. Up front was Mark Viduka. The Australian was Sam Allardyce's first signing at Newcastle, agreeing a 2-year deal after leaving rivals Middlesbrough. And 2 years was all he'd stay, ending his career in 2009 after Newcastle's relegation. Viduka was hardly prolific in black and white, scoring 7 times in his first season, but failing to find the net in an injury-disrupted second campaign. Since retiring, Viduka's returned to Australia, where he's coaching the Melbourne Knights youth sides, where his kids play. And finally we've got Obafemi Martins. The man to take the number 9 shirt after Alan Shearer retired, this was Martins' second season as a Newcastle player, and he started emphatically with a brace against Bolton. Despite stating he wanted to stay, Martins left for Wolfsburg after the Toons relegation at the Championship, and his next stop would be Russia after that, but he would briefly return to England, where incredibly he scored the winner for Birmingham in the 2011 League Cup final. His next stop would be Spain with Levante, then he'd truly re-find himself in the MLS for Seattle, scoring 40 times in 3 seasons. His last club was Shanghai Shenhua, but his time there was ruined by an injury in April. In June he was released and the Nigerian is still without a club. Meanwhile in Shanghai, Martins was replaced by former Newcastle striker Demba Ba. So that's where Newcastle's first 11 of the Mike Ashley era is now. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.